Welcome, everyone, to the Practically Nothing Podcast. Yes, I did it, guys. The opening. I have done it. At last, I have not screwed this up. I am
You
your
didn't
host.
say the catchphrase.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
No, that matters.
Are we sure
there's
we're
no
recording?
catchphrase. We are not recording. There's no catchphrase. I refuse. Anyways, guys, I am your host, the man who did not screw up, and there is no catchphrase, Plan Ordo. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Bodyguard.
Hey, I'm Dr. Bodyguard, and practically nothing matters on this podcast.
Yeah, sure. Anyways, and lastly, we're joined by Cardwiz.
Believe it.
Today we're going to give you a discussion about anime.
Not too specific, pretty broad topic, but something that I think we all have our own passions with.
So, when I first discovered the tentacle... Oh.
Wrong.
Oh,
We're not talking about that subgenre today.
Oh.
wait, I can't talk about hentai?
Samuel L. Jackson likes it. I was thinking about that guy. What was his name like? Erkenwald or something like that? Where he was just like...
Kurt Erkenwald?
He's just like, okay, guys, I'm an idiot. I was just looking at pornography with my kids, trying to prove that it exists. It's just like, what? What?
You're talking about a tweet from a politician
Oh my
that came
god!
out.
I thought it was a journalist.
Was it a journalist? That was a politician.
I didn't know who it was from, but I was just like, dude, you got caught. Just be like, hey, whatever, I got caught. But anyways, we're going to talk about the types of anime we're into, what we think about it nowadays, and how it has affected our lives. But first, as always, let's catch us up on what we've been doing since the last episode recorded, starting with Cardwiz.
Yes! In your face.
Kurt.
This week has been a fun week. I have watched a very fun show on Netflix. In fact, I binged the entire season that was uploaded just the other day to date this episode. Glow, The Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling. It's a very fun comedy starring Alison Brie and Mark Maron, basically setting up a women's wrestling promotion based on, very, very loosely based on the real Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling women's promotion from the 80s. All I'm going to say is that it is hilarious. It treats wrestling with a respect, which is kind of nice, and which shouldn't come as a surprise because it has a lot of wrestler people behind the scene, including Chavo Guerrero being the main person who helped book the fights, quote unquote, to be the agent of sorts.
Chavo's got to do something, right?
It's a great series.
Oh, it's a series, not a movie?
No, it is a series. This was just season 1, and based on some of the feedback that I read online, season 2 is highly likely. So, this is a show I hope to discuss further with you guys in the future, maybe on the podcast, maybe off, but it is a great series that I highly recommend. It's 10 episodes, half hour each, worth going into.
I refuse to watch it until you guys watch Arrow.
And watch a guy wearing green shoot a bow and arrow. What is there to it? He's like Hawkeye or something.
I have a lot of things in the backlog to watch. Watch My Hero Academia. Watch Lucha Underground. Look, I only have so many times in the day.
Too many times in the day?
So many times. Listen, guys. I got home about looking at this recording about 40 minutes ago. Rough weekend. So if I'm not bringing the energy or I'm saying weird things, just let that be a warning.
Yeah, well, for my past, it's mostly been work. I'm exhausted. I'm really exhausted. My wife and I are getting our house together. She's doing an amazing job getting everything set up, but I've just been working and I'm tired.
Where are you putting the Gundam model?
I haven't stolen from you yet, so as soon as I steal it, I'll let you know.
It's going to be the Epion, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely stealing Epion.
I actually...
He doesn't treat Epion with respect.
Epion's in a box because it has giant wings. I have no room for it. And yet I keep building more. It's kind of a stress reliever type thing.
Yeah.
I guess we'll talk
as it
about
should
it.
be.
I mean, we'll talk about it with the anime stuff. Is that it? You got anything else going on?
Just working on. I got my edits, the edit back from the editor I hire for my books. I've been working on that. And guys, editing is really just exhausting. All you're doing is making changes that the editor recommended, but it's just like, oh my god, 10 pages just took me 4 hours.
How many pages is your book?
Like 200 something pages.
One day, you and I are going to talk about we're going to talk about your book on here.
All right, after it's published.
Yeah, that's fine. More or less, I would actually want to talk to. Again, I could actually do this with Cardwiz in theater production. I just like the creativity process, not necessarily going into what your book is about, but perhaps how you come up with ideas and writing and techniques and such and such.
I can give you a hint. I steal everything from better authors.
It's going to be like 2020.
Yeah, pretty much.
We're going to have to do the investigative journalist situation. This podcast is going to air as the first piece of evidence against you.
So, Ordo, what have you been doing since we last saw you?
Work, and I've been trying to get back in Tales of Berseria so I can beat that. And last night, I actually just talked with you guys off air, but I was playing it about 2:20 a.m. last night. I was like, you know what, let me reach this last save point, call it a night, and then the big thing in that game happened, and I'm just like, oh my god, I can't do this tonight. And then I was just like, you know what, screw it, 5 hours of sleep, I can make it.
That was one of my favorite games that I played this year. Played it in January, beat it in a month, and I don't think ever before has a game emotionally destroyed me in the best way.
Especially in the Tales series.
That series does a great job of that, but Berseria on its own, I can honestly say I cried multiple times in that game. And I'm not ashamed of it. That is a beautiful game with great storytelling and a fantastic battle system.
I definitely had water in my eyes, but I don't know if it was from the yawning or actually being sad. Oh man. But actually I've been hitting my Star Wars book pretty heavy too. I am now in chapter, I think this morning I was in chapter 7, and I'm upwards to chapter 11 or 12, so I don't know how many chapters the book has, but it is a long one. I've been really digging it.
And that's the Path of Destruction, for anyone that's curious what Star Wars book he is reading.
Yes, Darth Bane, Path of Destruction. It's, I can't remember, is it one of 2 or one of 3?
It's one of 3.
Okay, because I remember I bought just a bunch of books on your recommendation last time, and I just I don't know. Every now and then I get in that reading mood, and something clicks, and I just can't stop reading. Other than that,
well, then I guess let's take us straight into the main topic for this week, then, guys. Let's talk about anime.
All right.
What was the first anime that you guys ever remember? Like, what was the first time you realized anime was kind of a thing?
Sailor Moon.
Dragon Ball Z. But here's the thing: like, I was really little when I first saw this, and unlike most people, it wasn't Toonami when I first saw it. On rare occasions, on like a Sunday, I would wake up before everyone else did. It had to be at least like 6 or 7 in the morning. And I would see this guy with this spiky hair and this weird armor thing on, shooting like these Street Fighter-esque moves, right? I was just like, I don't understand what this is, but it looks like Street Fighter. At the time, I was really into fighting games. So looking at that, I never knew what it was, but I knew that this guy's name was. Wow, I haven't thought about this in a long time, but the character was Vegeta, but I called him Vachita because I was little and couldn't like pronounce it right. But the problem with that is that they aired it like they would air an American cartoon, kind of out of sequence and just whatever they had. So It's like sometimes he's getting his ass handed to him on Earth, but then he's on Namek, and I didn't get a proper actually like really understand what was happening in that series until it aired on Toonami. But other than that, Sailor Moon.
The first one I actually remember was this weird cartoon I would see when I would go visit my grandparents' house because I didn't have Cartoon Network growing up. I didn't get that till much later. It was this weird cartoon that had weird animations. It was kind of weird, but it was about a race car driver. He had a cool name, Speed Racer. He had it was the Mach 5, was it?
Yeah.
Driving along, pushing buttons, and like buzzsaws would come out of it. And it was a superhero car.
And the mysterious Racer X.
But who was the mysterious Racer X? And whatever happened to Speed Racer's brother? It was such a tragic thing that we never really got to find out the answer, I don't believe, in America. Maybe one day. Maybe one day I'll be able to sit down and watch that entire series and figure out all the answers.
Just came out on Blu-ray.
I remember, like, pretty much just, like, early afternoon, like, Sailor Moon would be on, and I never really watched it. But that's kind of what I remember about being, like, that's something that's not American. You know, it's not like DuckTales or Tailspin.
Yeah, I mean, you looked at it, and then, like, you looked at what American cartoons were doing, and then you looked at this, and it looked really weird, really different.
And at times it looked a lot more stiff. As well.
And there was a storytelling thing happening too. Like I said, American cartoons, they kind of air things out of order for the most part. Back in the day, it's changed a lot. But
it's like anime in general. I mean, it's all very serialized, right? I mean, is there an anime like a big anime that's not really serialized in some way, where there's not a narrative that's going through each episode?
I think there are shows like Doraemon and Shin-Chan, I believe, if I'm remembering the names correctly, that do sort of have that approach to it, that or like just a weekly sort of cartoon, quote to speak. But most anime that at least makes it over here tends to be long, continuous stories.
Because it's based on serialized manga for the most part. And manga, if you've never heard that term before, is basically Japanese comics.
Yes, but they read them backwards, and that confuses me.
Yes.
So while Sailor Moon was like the first one that I really recognized, the first anime that I really got into, guys, was Vampire Hunter D, the movie. And how that came about is that Sci-Fi Channel, back when it was actually Sci-Fi and not SYFY, they would air very early Saturday morning, like at 5 or 6 o'clock, they would air an animated movie. Akira was one of them. That's the first time I saw Akira censored on TV. But Vampire Hunter D was going to premiere, and our neighbor Ben's like, "Oh man, it's awesome! You got to check it out." So I stayed up till 6 o'clock in the morning to hit record, and then slept.
Nice.
And I woke up, and I watched Vampire Hunter D. And Vampire Hunter D is about this vampire in this post-apocalyptic type world where monsters have kind of taken over, named D. And he is a traveling mercenary bounty hunter type guy. And he has, rescue the girl, kill the vampire type deal. He uses a really, really bitchin' sword and stuff. And the thing I always thought was really weird is he had like a little creature living in his hand that would talk to him. That could eat like magic and stuff. But yeah, that was the first one I remember being like, yeah, I'm into this. And that slowly got me up to I think all of us are going to end up eventually Toonami with Dragon Ball Z.
I was actually just thinking about, I remember like when Sailor Moon came on, I would make sure no one was in the house. or if anyone was around, like I'd like shut the door and I'd watch it, then I'd look over and make sure no one would come in, because it's girly and stuff, but it was so cool looking and very stylish and stuff. And
yeah,
when you're a kid, it's girls in skirts, so
there's an aspect to that that's appealing.
Literally.
Yeah, you can do worse. You can take your girls in skirts. I will stick with monsters fighting each other, usually commanded by a human of some sort. The first one I discovered that along those lines was a little show based off a little game that I got on one Christmas day. Literally a couple of days after Christmas, I turned on the TV one day, and these pocket monsters that are in my game also have a cartoon. That is so awesome.
I got into that the reverse way. Like it was sort of I must have had some weird channels, but it was the same thing where it would air at like 6 in the morning, and I never got to see the end of the episode because I had to be out for the bus.
Yeah, Pokemon had the issue of it. It had a bad time slot, at least in where I
Well,
lived.
until it got picked up by WB, and then they aired it on Saturday mornings and on the weekdays.
Yeah, WB kind of was a childhood home for great animation. Besides anime itself, because you also had Batman the Animated Series, you had Animaniacs, yeah, Freakazoid.
It was definitely good. It was definitely a good hodgepodge of everything put together. Pokemon just fit right in.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I also did not have WB growing up, so I didn't get to watch Pokemon or Batman or any of those shows on the regular. But I did have Fox, and a show that came out soon after Pokemon in America was Digimon, which I found to be much more enjoyable because I could actually watch it, and it was on a channel that I had. So I enjoyed watching the adventures of young people with their own digital monsters.
Yeah, and then I guess for, Ordo and I, we both had Toonami. I say this, we did not grow up together, but we've talked about it. And Toonami was part of the childhood. Some classics. You had Dragon Ball Z, which again is a classic for a lot of people. Not necessarily good, we'll get to that, but it's a classic. Gundam Wing, which for some people changed their lives completely. We had Rurouni Kenshin, which is my all-time favorite anime because it's absolutely beautiful. We had Outlaw Star. We had Cowboy Bebop, though that was on later.
Yeah, actually, no. It was never on Toonami. Not until the revival of Toonami.
Well, I mean, okay. Yeah. What were some other animes?
There was the Tenchi Muyo series, which always confused me.
I did not realize until earlier, maybe earlier this year, late last year, that that's a harem anime. I just put that together.
I never got it as a kid. I was just like, okay, all these girls like Tenchi.
Yeah.
Whatever. But the thing, it was confusing because they aired the OVA, but then they would air the regular show too. And then they had another Tenchi Muyo thing that they aired as well.
The problem with Tenchi is it had too many different continuities where it's he finally got with Ryoko. Who is this dumb girl from Tokyo that is Tenshi's I love you, even though you go on space adventures with all these other girls.
It was very weird, very wacky.
Yeah, I don't actually get Tenchi Muyo.
Viewers, if you're confused by the description of the show, don't worry, I am too.
Ronin Warriors, was that anime?
Yes, but yeah, it wasn't Ronin Warriors. I know what you're talking about. It's not. Actually, you know what? It is Ronin Warriors. I'm thinking of something different.
Yeah, no, I'm right. I know that much. But yeah, Toonami.
It wasn't all anime back in the day. Toonami actually started out just playing some kind of. Sometimes it had some action stuff. Sometimes it had goofy. I think at one point it was actually they had a lot of Hanna-Barbera stuff like Flintstones and stuff like that. Eventually moved straight on to action cartoons.
I know Batman was part of Toonami at some point.
Oh yeah, Batman, Superman Adventures, Justice League,
Batman Beyond.
Yeah, Batman Beyond. If it was an action cartoon, more than likely you would have saw it on Toonami mixed in with the anime.
They even had Johnny Quest at some point, I think.
Yep. And Johnny Quest, with the weird, you put goggles and went in VR, and if you died in VR, you died in real life.
I forgot
that. So yeah, I mean, go ahead.
I didn't get Toonami until way later, in the mid-early 2000s.
We get it, Cardwiz. You had a terrible childhood growing up in Texas.
I had Nickelodeon. That's all I needed. But when I did get Toonami, there were a few shows I liked. Most of the stuff that you guys are mentioning had already passed on, but a few shows that I remember even just watching. I remember a weird French show, actually, that's sort of anime-esque, called Code Lyoko, I believe. It's not quite Japanese anime, but it was an interesting animation style that I'd never seen before, and some people classify it as that. Some people classify Avatar: The Last Airbender as anime, quote-unquote.
And that's the thing about anime is, even in Japan, it has a lot of different definitions and genres within itself. So we'll touch on that a little bit more in a moment. But Cardwiz, you're kind of gonna have to sit this part out. Ordo, how awesome was Dragon Ball Z when we were kids?
Dragon Ball Z, man. Oh god, it was so great because a lot of the nostalgia that people have for Dragon Ball Z is watching the episode and then going to school or talking on the phone with your friends with it. There were these. Well, the big thing for it was the Super Saiyan, but it was kind of spoiled on us because the Bandai, the toy company, they sent a bunch of different toys. When we were only getting maybe like the start of the Saiyan saga up until where Goku fights Jason Birder in Namek saga, and we honestly didn't get new episodes for a good long time. But they had sent out toys of Boo, Cell, Super Saiyan Broly, Vegeta. So the Super Saiyan was kind of ruined by little things like that. But when it happened in the series, it just blew young Ordo's mind.
I mean, you say spoiled it for you, but American toy companies would release toys that had nothing to do with the movies, the TV show, the comic books, the cartoon. So I think, like, for me, I was just like, oh, these are things that I'll never actually see, but they're kind of cool. Like, hey, the toy universe, you know?
Yeah,
So
it's a common thing in Transformers.
yeah, and so you made a good point though that yeah, one of the big parts of Dragon Ball Z was you watched it by yourself, but then you shared it the next day at school with everyone. It's kind of like Power Rangers was for you, Card was.
Heck yeah.
And that was like the really fun thing. And when you're young, you kind of make jokes. Oh man, this is taking forever to set up. But like 36 episodes, you waited to see the big fight. You finally got to see the big fight, and
I would get legitimately like in tears pissed because we only had cable in one room, and Toonami they would switch up their like channel block sometimes. So everyone didn't really start getting home till like 6 o'clock, and sometimes they would start airing their Dragon Ball episodes at 6 o'clock, and I'd get kicked out because I wouldn't watch the stupid news, and I would get so mad.
I sitting there with you. I was like, "Come on, let me watch this." Like, I need to watch the news. The news is gonna be on again tonight. Dragon Ball Z is only airing once a day.
The news is garbage.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was Dragon Ball Z, and then they'd have other stuff come out, and for me, I was always like, I like anime, but I was never super hardcore into it like some people would get. But I had appreciations. Like I have a huge DVD collection, and my holy grail item, the thing that took me, oh goodness, 10 years to locate and finally buy was Rurouni Kenshin on DVD, the entire series. So I mean, I have a love for it, and there's definitely, again, there's a lot of different kinds of anime.
Toonami was really crazy because it wasn't just like it wasn't just something that the shows aired on. There was like this whole thing where like you had this little robot guy and he had a ship assistant and they had like this cool music playing and they had because like advertisement wasn't as aggressive as it was or as aggressive as it is now. They had like these little like videos about following your dreams or how to control your anger, and it was really oh, they had a lot of inspirational stuff that really happened.
You guys had your Toonami with your cute little robot and your nice animes where you're fighting each other, but at the end of the day, you're having a good time with your friends. When I finally got Cartoon Network, I didn't get that. I got the hardcore stuff. I got Adult Swim anime.
Tell me about it. Tell me about that Adult Swim. I think it was called Adult Swim Action for like the longest time. And that's where you saw Cowboy Bebop and Inuyasha for years on end.
Oh yeah, and I watched Inuyasha for years on end. I would go through 40 episodes, showing once, like for a week, showing them one at a time, then finally get to the 40th episode, and they might just add a 41st new episode before starting back over all the way at the beginning.
Man, it's actually funny when they brought back Toonami for that. I think it was when they first started bringing it back. They're like, yeah, we're gonna have Cowboy Bebop because we have this rights thing where we can essentially just air it forever, and they put the masters on television, or I guess sorry, the masters that they have, to my knowledge, are VHS masters, and they like put them on. I'm just like, man, this show looks really really worn out. Now I believe they have like Blu-ray masters now, but I mean, that was how much they aired Cowboy Bebop. I actually recently picked it up on Blu-ray myself.
Pretty good choice. It is considered to be pretty good. Adult Swim also had other shows that I really fell in love with. One of my personal all-time favorites, my first favorite anime, Yu Yu Hakusho, with just a kid. Oh, he died, but he's come back to life, and he's a spirit detective fighting demons to help save the Earth.
And it's good until about season 3.
Season 3 is still good. Season 4 is trash. Season 3 is still good.
It's a good show that desperately needs to be updated and has some really, really kind of creepy moments in it. And not like, oh, this is spooky creepy. This is like, I'm uncomfortable creepy.
That's why it aired on Adult Swim.
Yeah. Just for those watching at home, it had rape subtext in the fights between these young boys. And it's kind of like pretty weird.
It's pretty weird, but
there's a little bit of necrophilia in there too.
Good. Yeah, there's a little bit of everything in this show.
Mm-hmm. And then there was another show that aired on Adult Swim that sort of changed the way I viewed what animation could do. Like, I always viewed anime and cartoons, or in general, as things that, like, oh, it just keeps on going on until eventually it just ends. For the first time on Adult Swim, I saw a show that called Trigun. It had a beginning, had a middle, had an end. It had the entire arc just played out over the course of, I think, 20-something episodes. And that, as a young boy, that just sort of blew my mind that an animated show could have just a full-on story, an arc that goes from beginning and has an end to it. And it just seems like it's such a simple thing, but that didn't really happen. Rugrats didn't have that growing up.
Trigun needs to be updated as well. It's bad. A lot of people romanticize that show, but it like falls apart somewhere in the middle horribly.
I definitely think we could do an entire episode talking about how things need to be updated as far as animation and some storytelling elements.
I love Trigun, but there are like one or two storytelling elements that need to be either retranslated or just completely redone that didn't come across as well as it should have, didn't come across as powerful as it really was.
Trigun, I want to say, was that a late 90s manga?
Maybe.
That probably explains it then, because they, like, a lot of adaptations from manga to anime really weren't that faithful. Dragon Ball Z is one of, like, those few exceptions. Same with Yu Yu Hakusho. But then you have something like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where they only did, for some reason, maybe one fight as an OVA for whatever weird reason.
Okay, I think we should take this moment to just go ahead and say, Ordo, please tell us about Gundam.
With high expectations, humanity left Earth. Okay, so Gundam's a very, very special series for me. If you follow me on Twitter, you are probably sick of me tweeting about giant robots that are Gundams, and you know
God,
what?
yes.
I am never going to stop. So as a kid, I really had like a really great fascination for space, and I'm trying to think. I think I was going from the 5th grade into the 6th grade, and right at 5th grade, which was probably, maybe 1998 to 1999, Power Rangers in Space was airing. So they had just finished Power Rangers in Space, and then I was just like, I'm entering middle school, 6th grade. I'm kind of too old for Power Rangers. Imagine that thought process as a kid. So I watched the first episode of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, and I was just like, yeah, I'm out of it. But then, like, this new show started getting advertisements, and it was for Mobile Suit Gundam Wing. Now, I had seen Power Rangers before, and I'd also seen Voltron where, like, 5 individual robots become the one robot, and then they fight the big bad. But this had, like, 5 individual dudes, 5 individual robots that, like, were their own thing, and that they were powerful on their own. And it completely changed everything. Like, there was a Bandai rep on a podcast, probably, I want to say maybe back in 2013, that said, like, no other Gundam series that aired in America did as good as Gundam Wing.
And it did. I was really invested in the Gundam Wing as well. The hero Yui was a compelling protagonist. You had was it Troy?
Troa.
Troa. There was Troa who operated the trash heavy arms Gundam. There
100%
was
garbage.
Duo who had the Death Scythe, and he was the edgy one, so he was everyone's favorite.
Yeah, but he's kind of wisecracking too. He's a little bit lighthearted, actually.
There were two guys I was pretty sure were gay, and their Gundams were boring, so I didn't really care. But then there was the greatest character of all time, Miliardo Peacecraft, and his Gundam, the Epion, that I loved. It had a whip and a green sword.
He had the tall geese too.
I forget the tall geese. That's dumb.
Dude,
The Epion is
Great.
awesome.
Tall geese.
I
is
loved
great.
it.
Tall
man.
geese 1, tall geese 3. All the tall geeses were great.
You mean Epion?
Epion was good too. It didn't have a cannon on it.
This MFer here has an Epion that he won't put out for display, and he broke it. He broke it like the trash that he is. And I cannot forgive this.
I'm going to rebuild that kit one day since I'm a better builder. I will rebuild that kit one day.
And that's the thing. It's like Gundam is really fun, and there's also like 1 billion different Gundam shows.
And there's 1 billion different giant robots in general.
Yeah. So, like, Gundam, though, why it's special, it kind of always has, like, the same kind of thing about it, right? Or, no, it's always about Earth versus the moon people.
Essentially, it's like, Earth versus space colonies and anti-war and pro-war, and ideologically, it's just a lot of themes in that show repeat, but they're sort of told, new in different ways. Also, giant robots.
Yeah, and then we get to the best Gundam show, which is considered to be outside of all the other canons, the G Gundam, which is about karate fighting robots.
Take Dragon Ball Z, Street Fighter, and martial arts and giant robots, and mix them into a blender, and you have G Gundam.
Yep. And with the help of Kyojin, you can watch them all. That's a dumb joke that no one got but Ordo and me, but that's fine.
All I know about that is that there's like a shining, burning finger, and there's a master who is from Asia.
Listen, and the double shining finger is totally illegal.
Wait till we get later in the series.
Oh, no.
I'll never watch that show.
But I plan on doing an episode on Gundam sometime. I don't know. There's a lot of things in the pipeline, but other than that, I'm trying to think of what other big. Cowboy Bebop. Did we talk about that?
We touched on it briefly. Let's actually talk about something that's kind of similar to Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, because I want to talk about that a little bit.
Recently came out on Blu-ray.
Yes, it did, and it's super expensive. I do have that on DVD though. Bought that with Cardo standing next to me, encouraging me to spend money I didn't have.
That's actually a keeper because they don't. That version's out of print now.
So basically, Outlaw Star is about Gene Starwind and his fear of space, and he's a space bounty hunter, so that doesn't really work out for him. No, it's about this group of ragtag people who get this experimental ship and are being chased by pirate wizards, the federal government, and they're what's considered to be outlaws, this loose confederation of just like ne'er-do-wells and these rogues who they live by their own code and everything, and it is about trying to get to a mythical treasure trove in space.
Galactic Ley Line.
The Galactic Ley Line. And this show was a huge influence on Joss Whedon because Firefly kind of is hugely inspired by Outlaw Star. In fact, there's a shot-for-shot scene in it that is taken from Outlaw Star. So if you're a Firefly fan, which these guys are not, check out Outlaw Star. It's really good. It's a mix of science fiction and fantasy, which is science fantasy is a huge genre that I wish got more attention.
All I know about Outlaw Star is that you made me watch a couple of episodes, and I was enjoying it until a female character came along with the most annoying voice I've ever heard in an anime. I would not attempt to impersonate it. Listeners, just imagine it is a cat shrieking while running its nails against a chalkboard. It is horrific.
Talking about Asia Clan?
Yeah.
So who is it? It's Jean, Jim, Asia Clan, Melfia. Who's the samurai chick?
I cannot remember her name for the life of me.
I honestly forgot about her until I recently watched the Broken Promise video. I was just like, who is that?
Yeah, no, she's a part of that crew. She's not like a major character really. She's just kind of an aside almost. It's a show worth checking out. If you like Cowboy Bebop, you might like it. I don't know.
Solid recommendation.
Solid recommendation. I feel like that I made. So we've talked about some of the animes that we've liked growing up, and then, Cardwiz, do you want to talk about card animes real quick?
And there's only one card anime worth mentioning, and that's Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's a show that I like, but there's way too much of it. It is incredibly convoluted, even for an anime. It doesn't follow its own rule. It makes up its own rules, and it's so absurd. I love it to a degree, but I can only watch so many episodes before I'm like, this is just too insane. Doesn't even follow its own rules. I'm out. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Is something that I would definitely recommend to give it kind of a watch.
The first season's a mess, though.
It is a mess.
So let's take these final moments. And let's talk about animes that we're kind of watching now. If you're still into anime, because for a long time I was like, I'm not really into this anymore, and I kind of drifted away and everything. Oh my god, guys, how did we not mention the greatest anime of all time? Ordo.
We're getting to it.
What I'm talking about.
We're approaching that era. We just sort of stopped in like the early mid 2000s, and we're just getting into it. We're transitioning.
Let me tell you what was happening. Is that Cardwiz was working the show Texas, in Texas, ironically, and he would be gone all night. So Ordo and I were like, man, can't play video games without, a third, because 2-on-2, we kind of sucked. But, so we're like, let's go to Netflix and find something to watch. So Ordo was like, hey, this one here is I saw an episode or two. It's pretty good. So we watched that. We fell down the rabbit hole.
What is this show's named?
Ordo, do you remember?
Was it, oh my god, I'm forgetting it.
Oh my goodness.
Was it Full Metal Alchemist?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't Full Metal Panic.
Oh my god, yes! Sergeant Frog!
Yes, Sergeant Frog!
Oh, Sergeant Frog.
Oh my god, it's so good!
We have a little joke in our group where one of us goes, like, hey, Godfather. Come on, say it.
Do the bit.
Yeah, buddy God.
I found the hentai.
Oh, yeah.
Just to be clear, this show is not a hentai, I think.
It might as well be a hentai. Sergeant Frog is the show about frog people from space invading Earth to conquer it, but the guy that's leading it is a sergeant called Sergeant Frog, and he is just incompetent, and he got distracted because Gundam existed, and he's like, I gotta build all these models, and he loves eating cow beef and cow
I can't imagine why you two would be attracted to this show.
This show is just it's so like funny. So it is so good. And I will buy it on DVD, guys. That is definitely we're gonna marathon that when we're on one of our trips.
It is glorious insanity. It is so much fun. Like, that is one of the closest examples to, like, we were talking about earlier. It has its own canon and long storytelling, but it is like you can just sit down and watch an episode. You can air it out of order pretty much.
And it is pervy as hell.
Yeah.
What is really sad about that, though, is that we didn't get all of the episodes. I think it's dubbed up until episode 78, I want to say.
Is it only 78? I felt like we got into the 100s or so.
No, there's only 78 episodes.
It's dubbed through the first 3 seasons, but it's one of those shows that has hundreds upon hundreds of episodes, and America got a fraction of it.
Plus
even then, it's hard to find.
Well, my guess is that either it wasn't like selling super well, or the fact that they actually had to go back and do script changes, because in the original Japanese audio, basically it does things to reference Japan, But for us, they changed so it references things that like an American audience would get. Like they referenced The Undertaker from WWE, like in the first couple episodes.
And the thing is, like, there were 358 episodes. We'll probably never see the whole thing. But oh my goodness, we had so much fun with this.
There are other shows that we watched together that we had fun with. Shows that involves where one episode in particular involved a little girl and a dog.
Don't you do this?
Okay, listen.
Oh, that was such a fun show. A show called about magic, in a sense, with a Full Metal Alchemist.
You did it! You created the Chimera! Edward. Just
let me just say this about Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is not a sequel series, but more like a companion piece that's more in tune to the original. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood might be one of the most compelling, completely self-contained, incredibly brilliant pieces of storytelling ever put out there. It is comparable with George R.R. Martin's Game of Thrones. It is an amazing piece of fiction, and it is required viewing to anyone who really loves fantasy, I feel like.
There's the only downside to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is that there's a couple of characters that are just kind of like barely or lightly touched upon in it, but they're like their whole arc is actually fully explained in the original 2003 anime. That's really the only downside I can actually think of.
Yeah.
There are bits and pieces of the original from 2003 that I would like to be in Brotherhood, like how homunculi work, but overall, Brotherhood is a superior series with superior animations, superior characters going through much better story arcs.
Incredible fight scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, that first opening though.
Oh, so good.
The first opening for this series basically just it sets the tone for how good this series is going to look.
And there's a part where like the two main characters are like one by one being ripped to pieces, and like their best friend just kind of like wavers in the wind. Every time Ordo and I would see that, we'd go, "Whoa!" It's great. It's an anime that will get your blood pumping. It'll make you cry. It'll break your heart. It'll make you feel something.
God, dude, there's that one scene, and I'm not going to say it because I want you guys to go watch it, but you know the door where it's starting to close?
Yeah.
When he busts that back open, he's just like, I'm going to be back. Brilliant. Favorite scene. I
favorite
can't
scene
see
for
it,
me?
but I have chills talking about that scene.
For me, the best scene is Lust Mustang.
Yes.
Joe. If I can ever in my own books get something close to that, I will consider myself done.
And
like I've done it.
Watching that scene in context, you're like, do it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Do it.
Go down. Lost you. Oh, God. Man.
So
a little bit of a downer though. I finally have the money to buy things, and it is not available.
Well, I mean, good thing that Cardos and I both have our own copies.
Cool. I'm still, I know where you live.
Ah, dang it.
That is true, but I have cats.
Nah, don't worry about it. Just crawling on the floor. I almost made it too.
They will be mine. Oh yes, they will be mine.
I'm thinking of shows that really that really got my blood pumping, that I'm really so far into. And
hold on, I just okay. So I just wanted to check Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood Complete Collection 1, which is Season 1. How much you want to guess it costs?
$155.32.
It's gone down in price.
All right.
It's $139.99.
Oh man, we're living.
Oh boy. Okay, yeah.
It's probably out of print.
It's not. It's just they haven't restocked it.
I could probably get off Funimation's website.
Funimation website overcharges.
Yeah, I mean them and what's her name? Aniplex, like the 10-year anniversary. 10-year anniversary for Gurren Lagann came out. It's like all this cool stuff, and it's just like okay, for reference, Gurren Lagann is again a giant robot series. It is now 10 years old. It has like maybe 26 or 27 episodes to it. And it's just like, yeah, this whole fancy uber special Blu-ray edition can be yours for a cheap price of $549 US. No.
Wow. Goodbye, an Xbox One X.
Speaking of, today's podcast.
Brought to you by Microsoft.
Wish I had that Microsoft money.
Yeah, I wish we had any money. So, who here is still into anime? I recently got back into anime, particularly with two different anime. Well, three animes brought me back into the genre and have been holding me by the testicles as I go through them. It is Blue Exorcist, which, guys, please watch it so I have someone to talk to you about it. You guys suck. Very compelling story about two young brothers, and they are the son of Satan, so I'll just say that. There is Naruto, which I have spoken about briefly before, which I am currently like at 140 or 130 something to finish the first series, and then I can move on to the second series. And I have already calculated how much it's going to cost me to put them all on my shelf. It's about $800, and I'm willing to make that investment over time.
I will say, like, you're getting to the point. Where are you at Naruto right now?
Like, I am at the point where Emo Ninja, I can't remember their names, people. Sasuke has just gotten out of the coffin and his curse mark has been fully opened from Snake Ninja. And he is fighting Naruto, and we're seeing his emo little backstory about how Daddy didn't love me enough, and all that. So that's where I'm at right now.
Okay, you're coming up to the end point. You'll know when you can stop watching, because after that it's like almost like 70 episodes of filler, and there's basically like only a couple that are worth watching.
I know that like the very last two episodes I need to watch because they lead directly into Shippuden, and I'll have to watch that. Unfortunately, subbed. And again, okay, let's put this out here. Dubbed is better than subbed, so end of story.
Okay.
So I'm gonna have to do that, unfortunately. And then the other anime is fairly new, and I just watched it in my new Saturday morning cartoon kick. My Hero Academia. Is Academia?
Academia.
My Hero Academia. Holy goodness gracious, that thing is incredibly heartbreaking and beautiful, and I just want more of it. Season 2 is coming out. Like, I think they just finished season 2, maybe, or
it's
something.
It's actually, I think it's still airing in Japan right now, because you're watching on Hulu, so you're watching the dubbed version, but I don't have Hulu, so I'm watching it on Crunchyroll, which is the subbed version, and I think they just put up episode 24 of the new season.
I definitely need to catch up on season 2. I haven't seen any of it. I really want to.
Well, I'm still in season 1 right now. Again, my mistake is trying to watch something late at night with subtitles and having to read and try to keep my eyes open and focus on the action. And I really do enjoy it. Basically, the person who writes this, I don't know his first name, but his name is like Kohei, Kohei, and he's a big fan of superheroes apparently, and that's what his main inspiration for this is.
And it shows.
We will have an episode dedicated to this show. It's that good.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
I'll definitely watch it one day.
And then, so those are the animes I'm really into. And anyone watching, look up Ghost Stories on YouTube.
Oh Lord!
And it may sound like it is an official dub of what it was considered to be the worst script that they had ever purchased, the worst show they'd ever purchased. So they rewrote it entirely. And the actors were allowed to improvise their characters and lines. So it's super funny. Check out Ghost Stories anime. Cardwiz, what about you? Where are you at with...
I saw this clip.
Hold on.
I saw this clip.
Oh, no.
I have to talk about this. I saw a clip from this show. And basically the guy's running on track or something, and like... The guy goes, just imagine there's a giant big black guy running away from you. And he starts running, and then he just stops and passes out. And then the guy just goes, well, at least we know he's not racist. I can't remember what the whole scene was, but it was so fun. I was just like, this is from that show.
Yeah, Ghost Stories.
Yeah, I'm absolutely going to be watching those video clips of that one again right after we're done with the podcast, probably.
Yeah.
I've slowed down on my anime watching lately, but I'm just trying to think back on like the last 2 or 3 years of shows I've watched. I rewatched the first half, the only good part of Death Note. The first half of Death Note is one of my all-time favorite animes, one of the best crime thrillers that psychological dramas you'll ever see.
Up to a certain point.
Yes, watch the first half. As soon as the big protagonist, antagonist, as soon as they have their final confrontation,
don't watch
it.
The
show keeps going on for some reason and drags on and on and on. But no, just watch the first half. It's one of my all-time favorites. Just stop after the first half. There is also Fate Zero, which is an incredibly cool universe that I really like.
Do not watch Fate Stay Night because it is very, 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 very faithful to its visual novel counterpart to the point where it is boring. And Shiro Emiya is a jackass.
He's one of the worst protagonists of a show I've ever seen. He is the sole reason I cannot get through that show. Fate Zero is the prequel series to that one, thankfully, and it is just beautiful action of these basically magic summoners who summon heroes from the past to fight it out and see who wins the Holy Grail. And it is an amazing series that I would highly recommend. What else? About a year or two ago, I watched a fantastic anime called Soul Eater.
Oh, yeah.
Soul Eater's really good.
I got the Blu-ray of that one. I read the manga of it, and while the anime does have the problem of it veers off from the show was going on before the manga finished, so it kind of veers off in a completely different direction towards the latter half, but it's still a pretty good direction, which is more than you could say for most animes.
Yeah, we all three watched that, and I remember when we were watching it, the first opening was just so good, and we were like, yeah, but then we were starting to get into the teens episodes, and we're like, oh no, they're going to have to change the opening soon, aren't they?
And then they changed it, and it was just as good.
Yeah.
I would highly recommend looking up the opening, the 2 opening songs for Soul Eater. Paper Moon and what's the other one?
Is it Resonance?
It might, Resonance. I think that's the name of it. Resonance and Paper Moon are amazing opening songs.
I want to tell a little story about Soul Eater. So, Cardwiz lives with me, and he and Ordo were watching this. I was not participating in this. I just came out and I was like, what's this? As I was just walking through, and they're like, oh, it's Soul Eater. It's an anime, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, all right. And then I'd walk away. They got about halfway through it. I think you guys were at like the Masamune arc or something. And I was like, guys, this is like really good. This is like interesting and stuff. And I was like, I want to get in on this. And you guys were like, okay. And you should both start over, so watch it with me.
I mean, it's that good. And I don't really start over shows to watch them again for anything. For other people, I mean.
And that's about it. One other anime that it's an older anime that probably should have been talked about in the Toonami section, but the original Dragon Ball.
Yes.
Personally, I prefer it to Dragon Ball Z. I feel it has a little bit less of the next time on Dragon Ball Z. I enjoy the
character because it's never even mentioned once in the original Dragon Ball.
It's more well, it's more martial arts and kind of goofy and funny rather than Dragon Ball Z's super serious
space opera.
I gotta punch you before you punch me, and
the storylines are focused on like, okay, we're going to look for the Dragon Balls. Okay, we found the Dragon Balls. Let's go to the World Martial Arts Tournament. Okay, let's go find the Dragon Balls. Let's go do the World Martial Arts Tournament again. And it's a fun cycle.
Yeah.
Oh, I got 2 more I want to mention real quick before we go to Ordo, because you reminded me of them. There was what was the Seven Dwarfs one we watched?
Seven Samurai one?
No, not Seven Samurai.
Okami-san and her 7...
Oh, Okami-san.
Okami-san and her 7 companions. Was that what it was called?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Okay. Really short and sweet. Just super cool little anime.
12 episodes.
12 episodes. It is very fun. It's a high school drama action piece that got super dark out of nowhere, but still enjoyable. And then another one that popped up that Cardwas and I watched was The Devil's a Part-Timer, in which is it Satan or Lucifer? Because they're very specific with the name.
Lucifer is a different character. Lucifer was the purple-haired guy, I believe.
Okay, so Satan is from another world, gets tossed in our dimension, and he ends up working at a McDonald's-esque place. It's very funny. It's got some really great action. It's also very short, so you can binge it real fast if you want to. But those are two other ones that we caught recently. Cardos, was there anything else?
I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Ordo, is there anything that you've been watching recently?
Yeah, so first of all, I just want to start with Mobile Suit Gundam, and then Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam, and then
No, we started them on the road. You can't stop.
But no. If I can only make just, I'm not going to fill it completely with Gundam stuff. Two Gundam recommendations for me. I'm gonna say Gundam 00. It's really good. The movie that's after that series is not, and it's not worth your time, even though it has cool looking robots. Then Mobile Fighter G Gundam, as mentioned before, and then I guess Cowboy Bebop. It's always a classic. Got great music, great dub. I actually think even the Japanese cast, so they prefer the dub voice, which is unheard of. Man, I've watched so much stuff.
Have you been watching anything recently? Anything new?
I've been watching My Hero Academia, as we talked about before. I'm trying to think.
There's the insanity that is Samurai Flamenco.
Yes, Samurai Flamenco was so good. It takes a little bit to get started. Basically, this guy he idolizes like the Kamen Rider in Super Sentai, or Power Rangers for the Western fans. He idolizes this hero, and he wants to be a hero, even though he's in the regular world. So he starts getting this costume, and it just leads down to a whole rabbit hole of hilarious things that happened. Man, I'm trying to think. I'm totally blanking on everything.
Monica Magica, if you want traumatizing little girl, magic girl series.
Yeah.
Oh, Little Witch.
Oh, Little Witch
Academy.
Yeah, my little.
Little Witch Academia.
That's it. That's it.
Like
that. The two short movies that you can find on Netflix right now that are so charming. We watched them out of order, but so charming, so lovely, great effects, great animation, great action.
It's very positive and upbeat, I think.
Yeah, it is definitely.
Basically, this girl, I think her name is it Akko? Yeah, I think her name
maybe, yeah.
Well, basically, as a little girl, she's at this magic show, and she sees this performance of this really famous magician, and she's like, "Well, I want to become a witch too." And does she have no magical powers, or very little magical power?
She doesn't come from a magical family.
Okay, it's been
so she's kind of
a couple years since we've seen it.
Yeah, she doesn't have any young exposure to it. She's just like, I want to be like that person. But a lot of people view that person as kind of a pop star nonsense kind of a deal. But it turns out that our main character here might end up being the chosen one that we all need.
But not in a super convoluted way.
No, yeah.
It's I think the new season or something's currently airing. It may be on Crunchyroll. If you want to watch a ton of anime stuff and don't mind a lot of it being subtitled, you can view a lot of it on Crunchyroll, or some of the stuff's on YouTube too. Under official channels from Funimation and other whatever.
Hulu's got a great selection of anime as well.
Right.
That's definitely an option. A lot of people might actually have a Hulu subscription, so if you just want to test the waters, that's a good place to start.
Well, for you guys, we just gave some anime recommendations, but beginner anime?
If you're gonna get introduced to anime,
I'll say it again because I've already said it once, but I think Cowboy Bebop's good.
I think My Hero Academia is a perfect launching point right now for people.
If you like action-y sort of things, I would go with Soul Eater for something modern, and if you like thrillers, I'd go Death Note. Just depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And there's romances out there, and not all anime is good. What was it? Darker Than Black?
I
we
couldn't
tried to
tell you
watch-
anything that happened.
Was that
I
no?
actually...
You tried
Can
going further from where we quit.
Yeah, can we just rant on that for a little bit?
No,
Go
I gotta
for it.
eat. I gotta
Anyways.
eat.
It all began about 60 years ago.
it?
One day I'll rant on, like, what the hell is even happening? But
One thing I will suggest: don't look up anime with Google Safe Search off.
come on, live a little.
Live
Be
a
like-
little.
be like
Okay,
that
go
guy.
ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it.
No, don't do it. Practically nothing does not endorse that.
Practically nothing 100% endorses that.
We do not.
Oh no! Oh,
I'm going to tweet that from the official Twitter account too, with our 11 followers.
Oh, Lord.
Don't influence those 11 people. They don't need to see things.
3 of them are us.
It's too late.
I don't want to see those things. Don't tell me to look
So,
up.
check out some anime if you're interested. It's not just for kids. It's not just for like super weirdos and neckbeards and stuff. There's a lot. It's a genre that offers a lot. There's something for everyone. Oh my God, the perfect jumping off point, guys! My Neighbor Totoro, Howl's Moving
Oh,
Castle.
wow, we forgot about Studio Gilby movies altogether.
Yeah, I mean, God, those things are amazingly beautiful.
I've only seen Princess Mononoke, to my
That's-
recollection.
That's a great one.
I've seen My Neighbor Totoro
Oh, wait, no. I
and
saw...
Poyo. What was that name? Poyo, something like that. About a
Ponyo.
fish. About a
That's
fish.
It's the Little Mermaid.
What's the one where the guy turns into the bird? He's like, if I can't
Howl's
be
Moving
beautiful,
Castle.
I don't want to exist.
Howl's Moving Castle, which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
an amazing anime. One of my favorites.
Yeah. My aunt really liked Princess Mononoke as well.
Castle in the Sky is an absolute favorite of mine.
You bring up Studio Ghibli, made me think Lupin the Third. That's another good old one. Oh,
That's a good old one too. Steven Spielberg says that the Lupin the Third movie made by Studio Ghibli is one of his favorite movies of all time. Hugely made impressions for him for the Indiana Jones series.
That's what? Lupin and the Castle of Monte Cristo? Was that what it is?
Something I think that is, yeah.
the Castle of something.
Lupin the Third! Even that anime is actually pretty good, like the really old one. It's a little goofy and pervy, but it's still good.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong. Also, in an anime, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of like, what do we call it?
Fan service.
Fan service. There's a lot of fan service. Sometimes there's a lot more to it than just fan service, but there are some shows, High School of the Dead, that's just fan service.
It's 100% awful, too.
And
So,
an update, it is Lupin the Third, the Castle of Cagliostro. Cagliostro.
Okay.
that, I have seen that, and do recommend everyone check that out.
It's a good one.
But I think that's going to bring us to an end here, Ordo. Do you want to take us out on your giant robot?
After your perfect intro, I'm sure he will perfectly land the outro.
It's true. I've already hit the transformation sequence. We're all loaded up in the cockpit and we're ready to go. We're going to get out of here. So if you want to reach us, you can reach me at PlanOrdo on Twitter. You can reach all of us at Prac Podcast, PracPodcast. And as far as individuals, Bodyguard,
You can find me at Dr. Bodyguard on Twitter and on Instagram.
and lastly,
You can find me at KD Corley on Twitter, and if you happen to be in the Mobile area throughout August, I will be in a performance of The Little Mermaid at Chickasaw Civic Theater.
all right, guys, that'll do it. We're blasting off.
See you, Space Cowboy.